Dibbity dab. Hey everybody, welcome to 420 Live with Jeff Kravitz. It is time. It's that time. And today is the day. Today's 7/10. If you don't know what that means, it's kind of it's another 420 basically for people that like the oil, the cannabis oil. So 7/10 upside down is the word oil. People celebrate today just like they would 420. I've not seen as much hubbub about it all over the internet, but I know I have friends out there that are enjoying their dabs and yabba dabba doing away. And I hope everybody's well. It was a long week this week. Every day we're getting beat up mentally, physically. We just don't know what to do, and nobody knows what to do. I don't know where to go, what to do, what to think. We're all in this conundrum, but we're in a very interesting month, July. It's summertime, and I have a lot of cancers in my life. So happy birthday to all the cancers out there. Tomorrow would have been the 93rd birthday. 93rd birthday of my dad, Pinky Kravitz. He passed away about 5 years ago in 88. As a lot of you know, Pinky was a radio talk show host. And it's kind of where I get my gift for gab. So I'd like to tip my hat to my father, Pinky, and the great job he did in raising me to become the fine adult that I am, at least the way I look at it. But it's been really interesting to come to you and to go into Pinky's bag of tricks and to become a communicator at a time when, we saw all our walls going up and people shutting out. And I started this show. I'm about to hit episode 100 on the 15th, which is next Wednesday. So I'm doing a couple of preparations for that. Basically, we were about 115 days out from when this pandemic started on March 13th. So I've pretty much, with minus of 2 weeks, 15 days, been coming to you almost every day in this 420 slot to commiserate and lick our wounds and try to figure out what our next moves are. And, trying to distract you from what's going on out there with chats with my friends and people that I've met and people in different industries that we're interested in. And today we're going to be in the cannabis industry. Whoa, I'm sliding down. I'm falling down. Hit the wrong lever. So today we're going to be in the cannabis industry. We're going to be talking to the legendary Jesse Stanley from the Stanley Brothers. They created CBD. I mean, if you haven't heard of CBD, you've been sleeping under a rock. They didn't create it. I mean, CBD has been around for thousands of years. It's kind of stupid when I say that, but they brought it to the forefront of medical, to be for medical use. And it's really changed our world. When I had Tommy Chong on, he was telling me to get the CBD shampoo and stuff like that. But, I bring up my dad and I bring up the Stanley Brothers because Pinky was not a proponent of cannabis. He didn't smoke it. He wasn't a druggie. So him and I always clashed when it came to that growing up. And I think that's a lot of people that are boomers. We had parents that really didn't get our explorations into drugs or, what they called drugs at that time, which was mostly us getting stoned and eating mushrooms and, experimenting with different things that our friends would give us. And that's kind of the way I went to high school. It was always a rub with Pinky and in the family because I loved marijuana. It's something that's always propelled my life. It's something that's very important to me now, and it's something I use all the time. So we had a rub. But, in 2013, Pinky was watching CNN, and he saw the Sanjay Gupta episode. And it's really emotional to talk about because it's such a rub all your life. And you never think that in the time that your dad's going to come to you one day and be like, there might be something to that thing that I told you that was bullshit all those years ago. Because he would be like, no medical usage. And I'd be like, but Dad, it's a plant. It came out of the ground. God put it here. And he'd be like, no, it's bad. And there's nothing good about it. And, in his later years, he saw that CNN special. And that's where the Stanley Brothers were introduced to the world in the 3-episode special. And, talk about special. That for him to say that to me was kind of eye-opening because I was like, whoa, he can be, people can think even as they get older, their minds can be changed and open. So there's my little emotional part because you can see it's kind of thing that's always been a rub. And I think that a lot of us in that generation had that rub. And I know the Stanley Brothers, when I read their upbringing, it was really interesting. Let's bring Jesse in to talk. Hi, Jesse. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Let me hear you again.
I'm well.
There you go.
How are you doing?
It's working.
Perfect.
Good. Excellent. Did you have issues like that growing up?
You know, I did a little bit. Sorry, I've got a little bit of light problem in my. Let me solve this real quick. You know, I did. I grew up in a very religious home, but not. I wasn't around cannabis much whenever I was younger. My family kind of guarded me from it, which is unique because there's, you know, my family, there's 7 boys and 4 girls, and then 5 boys in a row. So you would have thought growing up, cannabis was with the 5 boys would have been passed around. But it really wasn't. I wasn't introduced to it until I moved to Colorado from Oklahoma. And I never really had a position on it. My mom never had a position on it. You know, I was raised by a single mom, and I think she operated mostly with common sense. I don't think she wanted us to be doing it and being potheads, quote unquote, but like it was never an issue in my family. She never would ostracize us in that type of way. But to hear you talk about it, and your father, and how CNN and Sanjay Gupta and Charlotte Figi changed the hearts and minds of a lot of people, you know, to be a steward of something like that, you know, I mean, shit, Jeff, it almost brought me to tears. So I hear the emotion. You're not like anybody else. Like lots changed since Charlotte's Web came on the forefront.
Yeah, well, and it's really interesting how you guys, you know, people were not talking about it. Like nobody even really knew about it. And the one thing that blew me away in doing my research was that the next day your phone rang with 15,000 calls after that show.
Well, Sanjay, we always joke about it. Sanjay was our first chief marketing officer. He shot us to the moon. Problem was our vehicle didn't have any landing gear. So we had to circle the moon for about a year or 2 while laws changed. And then we were able to build that landing gear and actually help people. But yeah, 15,000 person waiting list happened really fast. People moving to Colorado to access what now is a hemp product that can be shipped to all 50 states legally. It was truly the wild, wild west when we first started going and dealing with families that, you know, children were having life threatening diseases, and you know, you had a waiting list, and our sort of goal and our commitment to ourselves was because we couldn't grow it the way we grow it now. We had to grow it under the medical marijuana purview, so 6 plants per patient. Ours was, we're not going to take anybody off the waiting list. If we take you off, it's because we can supply you forever. So we had to be very delicate with that, and that's really hard when you have people moving that are like, I know it's going to help my child, but we just didn't have the supply. We couldn't build it fast enough. And as you know, cannabis takes time to grow.
Right. So what was the initial thought in the high CBD strain? Like, how did that initial thing come into the family biz? Because most pot growers are trying to grow the most high THC possible, right?
Yeah.
No one ever thinks I want to grow weed that doesn't get you high.
Well, I mean, it was a different dynamic for us because, you know, at that time, people kind of called us the Robin Hoods of marijuana because we would sell. We had, I think, over 100 different strains. We would sell those cannabis plants to people that were dealing with pain or maybe recreational users, whatever that might be. And then we'd turn around and we'd give that to cancer patients. And most of those people were elderly patients. So we came across CBD, started doing some research on it pretty early on, and realized that people could get the medicinal value of cannabis to fight some of those the effects of cancer, radiation, chemo. And a lot of these older people didn't like the euphoric feeling of getting high, losing control, and CBD offered them medicine without that high. And older people, younger people, it's an option. And once we saw it work for Charlotte Figi, it pivoted. It was no longer a part of our business. It was our business. And so we switched gears and more or less sacrificed a pretty successful marijuana operation and turned it into a CBD operation that would now become Charlotte's Web.
And astounding results. I mean, it changed tens of thousands of people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for, you know, Jeff, you've been at this a long time and you believe in cannabis, and so do a lot of your listeners and a lot of people out there. I think 80% approve of recreational cannabis, not just medicinal cannabis. But for years and years and years, these people, yourself, were beating down the doors of Capitol Hill trying to change laws. And when Charlotte Figge came in and walked in, the doors were wide open. All of a sudden, they were receptive. It's amazing how a little girl's life could change the hearts and minds of people, not just in blue states, but in red states as well. And that's where we saw the most impact. And then it was a grass fire and it just exploded. And now we have industries. I mean, they're not perfect, but we have industries and states. And I think 20 different states now in November have recreational cannabis on the ballot. I mean, shit, that's amazing. Like, I remember people saying, I was telling people, I think marijuana will be legal in Colorado recreationally in maybe 2020.
Yeah.
And now look at it. So it's press fast forward. Charlotte's Web pressed the fast forward button for the industry in a big way.
But there was still a lot of resistance. I remember when it first came out, and these little kids, you'd see them on 60 Minutes, and the families having to move to Colorado, and it was so heart-wrenching, you know, to see that they could get the medication, but the states were all being such assholes about it.
Well,
you know?
Well, I mean, it takes time to educate. We live in a different day and age now, and activation is no longer the way to change things. You have to educate people. You have to, like, if you can come in and show them by science, and we're working on the science now, everybody is, but we showed them by a story, and we allowed them to see the anecdotal evidence. And it wasn't just Charlotte Figge, it was Zakai Jackson, it was all the other kids that showed up. And no, it wasn't a panacea, it wasn't a silver bullet, but the anecdotal evidence was overwhelming. And at that point, what do you wait for? If you're gonna wait for science, then a lot of people are gonna pass away. A lot of people are gonna pass away and not have the option of cannabis. And we need to let science catch up to what we already know. It just so happens that that's a process that involves the FDA and clinical trials and a bunch of other stuff. So we already know that cannabis is healthy. We already know that THC, CBD, CBN, CBG, all the flavonoids, all the terpenes. We don't know the mechanism all the time, but is that really important if it's changing people's lives? Let's figure that out down the road.
Yeah. Well, how did Sanjay pop it? How did he come to you guys?
Well, Sanjay came to us through a video that we had made. We were just trying to show people what this was doing, and Sanjay kind of saw that through a mutual friend. And you know, Sanjay came and he was against medical marijuana.
I remember he was another one that was totally like, I don't see any medical value on this. And
my brothers and I feel obviously vindicated, but it's special to know that Sanjay told us, you know, we're the reason we changed his heart on cannabis, and he's done so much for the industry, really, not just with people like your father, but with lawmakers. I mean, once they saw this reputable neurosurgeon that is anchored for CNN, I mean, now he's a mainstay talking about coronavirus.
Every day he's on there.
Super reputable and knows his stuff, and he himself has a challenge and would call himself actually proud if people were to call him the weed doctor, the man that changed the world in their stance. And that's something he's proud of. So he's an amazing guy. We love talking to him. We call him the 8th Stanley brother. And he's a special human being. And we're really appreciative of the timing of him coming into our lives and telling our story.
How did you, like, I was reading about you guys all, like 5 of you in one bed and stuff like that. And I was thinking about like 8 brothers in one house, and the town you grew up in was like 150 people living there. Now, I think the count was like today.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
We grew up in a small town in Oklahoma. We slept head to toe like little enchiladas in a California king bed. And I mean, we terrorized that small little town because it was 5 boys in a row, and 5 8 to 13-year-old boys is like hell
Wow.
for ding dong ditching or toilet papering people or throwing eggs at people's houses. I mean, we were pretty bad. I think that city was really glad when we moved to Colorado, and honestly, how things shaped up in our life to move to Colorado, I don't know where we would be at today. Colorado is a progressive state. I'd like to think that the morality in me would progress and be progressive and not think that weed was bad or gender equality or some of the things that you see in some of those states, the red states. But moving to Colorado was a game changer. And my dad moved to Colorado, and it was shortly after that my mom and him split. And sad as that was, I wouldn't change that for the world.
Well, because everything happens for a reason and makes you who you are. And you realize that as you get older and you look back, you know, because the closeness of the brothers must be unbelievable. To you guys work together, you slept together, you know. Well, and 5 and 5. Was it 5 and 5 years? 5 boys in 5 years?
Pretty much. I mean, we're not Irish twins, but we're pretty close. Joel is the oldest is Josh. Then my sister. We're all J's too. So it's Josh, Jen, Joel, me, John, Jordan, Jared, Joy, Jay Austin, Julie, and Jensen. And it's why we work together so well. People ask me, how do you work with family? I'm like, I mean, they're my best friends. Like when you have as many kids in a family as we had, a single mom working 4 jobs, you bring it all together and you work out the kinks because you have to fit in and fill the gaps to help everybody, right? It's everybody got their hand on an oar type of thing. And that pushed over into business where we had each other's backs at all time. And I hear people all the time, it's like, man, I could never work with my brother. We'd kill each other. And, you know, it's not that way. Not to say we don't fight. It's not to say we don't fight.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of ball busting going on because I know how it is with my brother. I mean, it's continual.
Non-stop. And we still have it. We have disagreements on what we're doing today. Like ultimately, you know, we started in marijuana. Hemp, Charlotte's Web happened. We feel like we've passed that over to the appropriate people. And as the FDA kind of moves and shifts, that'll build and that'll grow and it'll become a global cannabinoid company. And we feel now, not all of us agree, but it was the time to come back to our roots and start what we're talking about today, which is our marijuana line. And you said it really great, ReCreate. The whole idea of ReCreate was recreate. Everybody calls it recreational marijuana. And there's like this stigma that recreation is bad. So medicinal is okay, but recreation isn't. And we wanted to change that. We wanted to recreate how people viewed that. And you said it earlier, recreate, recreate. Well, recreate is recreating oneself. And that's what we're looking to do every day on ourselves as we grow our businesses and build what it is we're doing today. And that's what we do with our products is recreate how people view this plant, because I want to lower the stigma across the world for people that still CBD is okay, THC is not. Well, let me show you why you might be wrong. And that's what ReCreate's all about.
Okay. So explain to me what the dosage is and how it works.
So I had a vision for ReCreate maybe, I would say 9 years ago. I wanted to take the basic botanicals that everybody takes every day. Vitamin C, ashwagandha, lion's mane, reishi, so different mushrooms. And I wanted to marry those to the ancient way to wellness, which is cannabis. Cannabis has been around for, you know, thousands and thousands of years, as you know, and up until 1940, it was the main, over 100 different purposes for cannabis for pharmacopoeia until all the illegalities and FDA and pharmaceuticals and all that stuff. That's a different topic. But I wanted to bring that back. And my thought process was, I know that our bodies have an endocannabinoid system, and the plant produces cannabinoids. So it has a symbiotic relationship with our body. once you start taking that in any kind of combination, right? It doesn't always have to be a THC. It doesn't always have to be CBD. It could be CBN. It could be some of these other things. Your body enters into this thing called homeostasis. Homeostasis is balance. Well, all of those botanicals that are in ReCreate. So ReCreate is CBD plus THC plus a botanical. That allows for your body to achieve a certain function. So we have ReCreate sleep, ReCreate relax, ReCreate relief. All of those are minor amounts of THC, or the extra strength is a stronger THC, CBD, and then ashwagandha or lion's mane or reishi or some of these other molecules that people have been taking for a long time. The thought would be, and Jeff, you know this, how many people say cannabis isn't for me because they took a 100 milligram brownie and had a terrible day, and now they're like, nope, I'm not against it, but it's not for me.
So it's basically microdosing is what you're talking about.
It's microdosing to a way. It's not all of our products are microdose. It's an introductory part to cannabis.
Gotcha.
If you're new to it, ReCreate's for you, because you can step in, you can titrate, and you can figure out what product might be good for you. And all of our products are not necessarily designed for a high. They're designed for that higher function. So while you may get high, we're working to give you a possible outcome. And if you need sleep, someone said it on the comment, all cannabis is medical. People say, I take cannabis to help me sleep. Well, that's why people take Ambien. So even recreational cannabis use is medicinal. Anxiety, that's why people take Xanax. A little bit of relief in my joints, that's why people take ibuprofen. So we're looking to make this a first option next to your toothpaste in your medicine cabinet is the way we view ReCreate.
So is the endocannabinoid system, does that require a certain amount of THC or CBD to function properly? Or is there a balance you are trying to achieve with that?
No, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about cannabis and our brand is, as the science is available, we will recreate our products to make them better for our consumers, right? But at the end of the day, you have to get cannabinoids into your body at some point to keep that system churning, moving. It's like if you don't get any sun, you're not getting any vitamin D. So,
right, but how do people usually get it? Because you say we have an endocannabinoid system. So people that don't partake of products, how do they get that? Or does your body produce it naturally?
So interestingly enough, yes, it does. Not in minor cannabinoids. We won't get into the science of that fully. We'll keep it 40,000 feet. But a good way to get in, if you want to try cannabinoids, is Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web is a full plant extract. It does have THC in it. You'd have to take a lot of it to get you high. Mm-hmm. That's a really good start. Charlotte's Web or other products like it. Then if you're thinking, I want to try something else, I want to take it to the next level, that's where microdose THC products are perfect. ReCreate being one of those. There's other products out there that have it. I would just recommend make sure it's full plant extract. Isolates are fine and great to smoke and those types of things, but the body's not used to isolates. When you take an orange, you're not isolating the vitamin C, right?
But when you take a vitamin C pill, you are taking the essence of an orange, right?
100%. But I would say it's better to get vitamin C from something natural, right? So the interesting thing in cannabinoids and in the endocannabinoid system is a lot of people say I'm new to cannabis. I don't feel it. I don't feel the high.
Right.
I don't feel the CBD. Well, anything that you're taking, you should really take for about a month. You should try it for a month, and then you'll know when it's working whenever you stop taking it. And you're like, why am I so foggy? Or why don't I have focus? Or those types of aspects. It's like, get it into your system, work it out like you would go on a walk every day. CBD is a good start. THC is not bad. If you're skittish about it because of that 100 milligram brownie you took, start low, go slow, and build up to the THC level that's good for you.
Well, that's the one thing that I noticed also with my wife is that her demand for the amount of THC she needs to go to bed every night is slowly increasing. Mm-hmm. Or she's 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. I mean, Now, so you build up a resistance over time, or you're building up enough of it in your system?
Well, you're building it. You're getting used to it, right? If I drink, bad analogy, but I'll give the analogy. If I drink a handle of Tito's every night, eventually that's not going to do much for me. If I work out with 20-pound dumbbells every day, eventually it's not going to do much for me.
Right.
You have to sort of trick your body. Don't always take 10 milligrams, maybe go 5 a day, or take some time off. Like from a microdose standpoint, like there's nothing wrong with that. But that's the beautiful thing about the industry we're living in today is because it's regulated, better technology is coming in, right? So we have better bioavailability. Look for nanotechnology and other aspects of other forms of use where it's no longer just Rice Krispie treats or dabs or those types of things. There's other aspects, sublinguals, different tinctures, and ultimately, eventually, science is going to catch up with this, and all of our products are going to be standardized. And that's really what I want in my product is if you buy ReCreate in Colorado, if you buy it in California, you're getting roughly the same product and the same outcome.
Okay, so with Charlotte's Web, you opened up the entire United States to your product, all 50 states.
Yeah.
But with this product, you're only in Colorado, correct?
No, we launch in Colorado. We're in California. We launched in California. Oregon will be next. And
so you're going to each legal market individually?
Individually, because we have to. Our hope is to legalize relatively quickly and stop this nonsense of people having to operate in multi-states. It's a waste of money. And
well, yeah, the part of the problem is that you have to have an operation in each state doing the production there, right?
And that's spendy. I mean, you see public companies going down left and right because there's other aspects about the hypocrisy of cannabis that we're not even talking about. One is banking. How do you bank? When you can't
how do you bank?
Loans. You don't have access to what everybody else has access to market or make their company streamline. You can't market. Facebook, not taking your dollars. Google, not taking your dollars. So it's really difficult to operate in the space state by state if you have to build a lab in every state. Those aren't cheap. I mean, Charlotte's Web's lab is state of the art, and now we're a publicly traded company and we've raised money, but they've got a lab that they're building that's in the $35 million range that's going to allow to supply the whole country, but that's expensive. But
it's also only one factory, right?
What's that?
That's only in one state.
That'll be one state that we can put to everything. Our hope in the future is that the state lines drop and I'll be able to ship ReCreate from Colorado to Florida to Texas to New York to anywhere. At that point, the exciting thing is that cannabis is really going to find its zone. So California weed is one thing, Oregon weed's another thing, Colombia, Mexico, Portugal. There's so many things, different soils to see how this cannabis plant grows. I think we're kind of going to start seeing cannabis look a little bit like coffee, boutique, chocolate, and where it comes from will matter. And people might like Kentucky weed.
Didn't you find? I always found out as a kid growing up when someone would give you a bag from Hawaii or someone would give you a bag from Amsterdam or whatever, you'd be like, "Oh God, this is great," because it was unique.
It's different. It's not bulk. It's boutique. And I grew up smoking. My first weed was Mexico, so that was not great. That was just pure.
Yeah, I know. We get the little nickel bags in the manila envelope with the seeds and stems on them. All right, so with Charlotte's Web, you guys were groundbreakers. You literally struck oil, and the whole thing exploded in your face, and you had to play catch up and created a company. Congratulations that you publicly traded and you broke all these barriers down and created this whole new area of cannabis. But with ReCreate, you're kind of going in with, there's a ton of competition and you're not the only ones in there and you're not creating something that nobody else has. So how do you distinguish yourself in the market? Good
point. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. One, I want to be in multi-states. I want to be a brand that doesn't just exist in California. It doesn't just exist in Colorado.
But does every state have is it necessary to go in every state? Because not every state's going to have the people there, right? No. The business.
You build it as it comes. I don't want to boil the ocean per se or throw money away by any means. So California is a very tough market, but in building a brand, you have to be relevant. So to not be in California actually could be damaging to the long term of building that brand, right? But ultimately, what we have is low-hanging fruit. Tinctures, chocolates, gummies, some of those things that a lot of people have. What we hope to launch on the heels of this are products that other people don't have, are products that will differentiate us. And ultimately, I feel like ReCreate might be ahead of its time in the sense that the market today isn't necessarily for microdosers. It's for people that are looking for high THC, and that's totally fine. My brand is really when Whole Foods opens up, and that's really where I'm trying to position this. I'm never going to be Cheech and Chong. I'm never going to be Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, but don't you have to sell in shops right now? You'd have to. You're in the weed shops, right?
100%. And you hit the mark. You hit those numbers. Now we have an extra strength line that is less microdose. So we'll do that for a period of time. We've got beverages coming out we're super excited about. But we're talking about ReCreate, which is just one line. You know, the brothers are interested well beyond in cannabis. I know this is cannabis. We're looking at mushrooms next.
Well, that I was actually going to ask you about that. That was on my list because you're in Colorado and we're talking about microdosing, and that seems like a natural thing.
So I've microdosed psilocybin for a long time, since I feel like before it was all crazy, everybody did it, but it was decriminalized here in Colorado. And if you see ReCreate, a lot of our products have mushrooms, and there's a reason behind that. This fall, we'll launch our mushroom line, non-psilocybin, but our mushroom line functional beverages and chocolates for Whole Foods, not with any cannabis in it. But our goal is to do what we did with CBD and cannabis, to do that with psilocybin. So our future is to cultivate, find legal places to grow psilocybin, mushrooms, psilocin, the mycelium network, and really build that out so we can start researching it. And then once we have the ability to research it, people will know the science that backs up what we already know, that it's good for anxiety, PTSD, depression, some of those other aspects. So we're entering into a new way of life, into a new how people view health. They're starting to take that back into their own care and not giving it to the doctor because we don't trust what they're pushing on us. And mushrooms, I think, is the next big thing for humanity, is in the form of botanical or plant wellness.
What do you? How much do you usually take? What's a microdose?
So microdose. Yeah, no, that's a macro dose. I usually I encapsulate it, and I do Paul Stamets sort of version. I throw lion's mane in there, mix it in, and throw them in capsules. And it's not a perfect science, but I don't take it every day either. Someone said earlier, like tolerance workout. So it's 2 days on, three days off, 3 days on, 2 days off, and your body kind of needs that. But
can you feel it when you're on it?
Sometimes I can if I get that extra strength pill, but I'm never like, and that
you don't get woozy and you're not staring at your fingers.
I actually get more focus, a sense of overall well-being, similar to the way I felt with CBD back whenever we started Charlotte's Web. We were growing it and we would smoke it, and you wouldn't get high, and we're like, how is this possible? But you'd feel great, like you just didn't have this euphoric feeling of thinking about why things were made and why you're so on the earth and all that type of stuff. So it's similar to that in a way. And I feel like ReCreate is just the stepping, sort of the step stool to the next step that we're looking to take. And I feel like ReCreate around the world. Yes, California is a booming market, and there's dabs and there's tons of THC. There's 100 milligram drinks. There's things like that. But the rest of the world doesn't have that. Iowa doesn't have that. Texas doesn't have that. And when we start that, some people will want to step into the shallow end of the pool, way down to the deep end. But they got to start somewhere, and jumping into the deep end isn't always the easiest.
Yeah, well, it's when as kids, when we were experimenting with shrooms, it was like, hey, here, eat a handful. Next thing you know, you're flat on your back.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely went through our things. And even when we were eating and someone would make hash brownies, we would take them and eat them and we'd all be passed out in the room. And I'm sure everybody's still dealing with the same stuff nowadays. How do you consume cannabis? Are you a smoker or edible?
Yeah, no, good. I like edibles. I take Charlotte's Web every day, obviously, self-promoting. I have for a long time. Since ReCreate came out, I've been doing our products. So I've been trying the chocolates and the tinctures. I'm not much of a smoker. I used to be. I do like a vape pen here and then. But for the most part, I like the edibles. If I can start low and find something that is good for me, whether that's a gummy and 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams for me, Jeff, if I did that earlier today, you and I would probably not be having the conversation.
Flattens you out, huh?
Or on my couch. I have a very low tolerance because I just don't consume THC on a mass level every day, like I said, but I like to take it at night when I sleep. We have a focused chocolate that I love. It's about 4 milligrams of THC, and I feel it just enough that I'm aware of it. So that's really how I consume. I've done one dab in my life. Not for me, never again. That's a whole different level.
They're dialing the dabs in. They've dialed them in with the new Puffco with the electronic device, which keeps the temperature low and the flavor in. But they're very strong. And if you're not a smoker and you hit it, it's very concentrated.
Jeff, the industry is no different than alcohol. Whenever they made alcohol illegal, what happened? Moonshine.
Right.
And moonshine, people were going blind from that stuff. And now we're starting to see the dabs, and those were so strong. Now we're starting to see it kind of trickle down. You're starting to see products in tea. There's so many different things that are natural and healthy that they're putting THC in. And you said it earlier, CBD's in everything. Go to the shoe store. We own a CBD shot or CBD shampoo, CBD mouthwash, CBD pillows, CBD blah, 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 blah. It's become such a phenomenon that people want to put it into everything. And the problem is that we still, from a food and beverage standpoint and dietary supplement, we still need the FDA to regulate this, to put the stamp of this is safe, what we already know. And I'm hoping that they push on this. But in a world that we live in today, there's a lot more important things, I will say, what's going on in equality for everybody. And there's a lot of other topics that are coming on. But on the back of that equality is prison reform. And marijuana, cannabis has a massive sort of effect on that. And the incarceration rates are very racist. We have 5% of the world's population, 25%.
Well, that's the zero prisoner charity, or where they're trying to take it back, right?
D'Angelo, yes, or is that D'Angelo's?
I believe so. With zero prisoner, where they're trying to get rid of all the guys that are in jail now, because marijuana is a huge industry and people are incarcerated for it. So
it's unacceptable, and that stems into it. And that's why we have to legalize it. We have to work together. We have to stop thinking about my brand versus your brand versus my industry versus your industry. And we have to do what's right for people and access. Not everybody has access still, and people still go to jail for cannabis, and it grows naturally. Whether I put it in the ground or not, it's going to grow naturally. And so those are the next steps. That's the next steps for the Stanley Brothers, is to see if we can't change the heart and minds of lawmakers by pushing THC, talking about the science, getting science done, and then moving into other things like mushrooms and who knows, ayahuasca and DMT and some other stuff after that.
I love all that stuff. All my favorite chemicals there. ReCreate Cannabis. I had it right? ReCreate.
ReCreate.
Like recreation.
Yep.
Very important. And the Stanley Brothers, he's still at it, still with the Charlotte's Web. Thank you. Just amazing timing coming on today, because I was thinking about how, I was going to tie in my dad to this because his birthday's coming up. And when I thought about that, and his revelation with the CNN. It just brought everything together. So Jesse, I appreciate you coming out and your folks for reaching out to me to bring you on. I really enjoyed meeting you, and I'll see you around the social network world and look forward to checking out your products, especially those shroomies when they come out.
Absolutely. Full crush. Thank you so much, Jeff, for having us and letting us talk. And if you ever want us back on, we're happy to come on. And everybody that's listening, really appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend. Stay safe and wear your masks.
Thank you. Take it easy, Jesse.
Ciao.
See you later. All right. Jesse Stanley, the legendary Stanley Brothers. I mean, it's just so interesting to see what's happened with this plant over the years and how we've all been involved in it. And, you know, as I said earlier, today is a celebration day. It is 7/10, July 10th. So 7/10, 710, if you turn it upside down, it says the word oil. And one of my favorite people on the planet owns one of my favorite brands of full strength cannabis, 710 Labs, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to say hi to Brad Melshenker. Brad Melshenker, nice shot. What am I looking at there? Hi, Brad.
What's up, dude?
Happy birthday.
Thank you, my man.
I didn't realize that 710 was also your birthday.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize it. It was too serendipitous, you know?
And you have a company tied up. I see you're on the beach enjoying your birthday, smoking a spleef.
Yeah, I wish I could be dabbing on the beach. I just didn't set it up. I didn't.
That's fine. I got my Puffco here. But how's everything going with 710? Everything all right?
Everything's good. We're rebuilding it from the looting and everything, and we're really doing well. Business is good, and it's back to building something special like we always set out for, 12 years ago. And by the way, I just want to say shout out to the Stanley Brothers. I don't know them personally. I've run into them over the years. What they've done for this plant and this community is unspeakable. And it goes without saying what they've done to help progress the whole plant and make it to what it is today over the last 10, 15 years. So
it's amazing. I mean, it's such history. It's such a part of what's happened to us. How's the ocean?
Beautiful. Been in a few times today. It's so refreshing. It's like my happy place is the ocean. So
we love it. Well, I got my
to join us as well.
Hi. How are you?
Happy 710.
Yeah, what a great day for you guys, huh?
Yeah.
This is like the high holy days. Well, because of you, I got one of these.
I love it.
So I'm going to show I preloaded everybody, and in honor of the 710 holiday, this futuristic space.
What kind of wax you got in there?
I have the Z Cube number 5 Percy rosin right here, my man. I don't fuck around.
That's some fucking tier 1 Percy shit.
Yeah, I know. It's delicious. And I got my Q-tip holder right here. Very important to have a Q-tip holder. Who would have thought?
You're all set up. Roger sent that to you?
Yeah, Roger sent me the Puffco. And I'm just waiting.
You on the green setting or blue?
No, blue. You can't do green. I'll kill myself. The fuck? I don't want to die on the air. Let's see.
Do your kids like the Puffco or no?
Yeah, my son's still into the mooks or the mokes or whatever they call it. Here we go.
Happy 710, Mr. Kravitz. Happy to get to know you over the last 6 months or so. 3 months, I guess it's been. CQ5 right there, ladies and gentlemen. Percy live rosin. Skittles
Wow.
Times OZ Kush. Skittles times OZ Kush.
That's delicious. Oh, wow, you got the dog down and everything. What beach lets you bring the dog down?
Santa Barbara, Rosewood, and Montecito.
Oh, I love that. Oh, you're at the hotel. You can bring your dog to the hotel. I love that.
There's so many dogs here, it's crazy.
Wow, our dog loves the beach.
Yeah. We're here for 2 weeks, so come hang out.
I love it. Well, maybe I will. I'm not doing much.
Cool.
Just sitting around here. Well, thank you. Happy birthday. Love to the family.
Happy 710. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Take it easy,
All right.
buddy.
Later, buddy.
All right. Brad Melshenker, 710 Oils. Listen, top tier today. Stanley Brothers, 710 Oils. These are the top in the industry. You don't get any better than that. So I want to thank Jesse Stanley. Whenever I talk about Pinky, it gets a little emotional. So if you missed that whole rap in the beginning about my dad and how he pushed back against my habit. Oh, shoot. The one thing about these things is while it's still hot, you want to suck all that oil off the bottom with your Q-tip, because otherwise it just trashes your little bowl there. Oh, and I didn't tell Brad I got the upgraded bowl, the Puffco, whatever, the silicone bowl. That's so good. You taste it? I didn't cough at all. I see that. It's smooth because you use it on the blue setting. The lower setting already gave me cotton mouth. And the packaging is so cool on this stuff. Look at that. And you have to keep this in the fridge. You can't just leave it out. I left it out for a week before someone told me that. Anyway, guys, we're wrapping up. If today is July 10th, what is it? Yeah. Oh, geez. We hit next week. It's going to be 4 months. 4 months we've been doing this. Holy shit. That's crazy. I thought this was going to be like a month thing and I'll be back at it, but obviously that's not happening. We got a lot of great stuff planned next week. Monday, Jay Blakesburg. It's going to be photo head to head. Jay and I are working on a couple fun things coming up in the next month, and we're going to have him on to talk. And then, I'm fleshing out the rest of the week. If you have any ideas, hit me up. I'm open. I'm open to everything. I'll take it all. Sponsorships, whatever you guys got. Guests. You want me to wear your shirt? You got a better weed shirt? Send it along. I'll wear it. 710 oil. Yes. 710 oil. You can get it in California and Colorado. They grow it up in Oakland. They have it in most of the shops. You got to follow them online. The future of 710 Entertainment. Let me shout out to a couple of my people out there. Today, Stanley Brothers. Legend, right, Shadow? Come on, legend. ReCreate. I had that right when I started talking about that. Our friends at Nivasuk National Independent Venue Association. We got to take care of the people that are in those small venues. Folks, if you're not registered to vote and you're watching this show, don't even bother. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Get off here. Go register to vote. Live Lesson Masters. You want to do a hangout? Joel Cummins came over yesterday. They're just hanging out and drink with people on there. I'm going to sign up for that. You guys, we can have sessions. We can session up with Kravitz. Our guests get a solo pipe. I'll see if Jesse wants one. He doesn't smoke, so probably not. And Brad already has one. And Asher's, we're dialing it in, the 420 bar. You can get 20% off your chocolates at 420 Live, and we're going to work out some special deals for you guys over there with the Asher family. I'm gonna stretch them out because you don't want a whole week of anything. But we are going to do a week of MTV coming up at the end of July because I worked with MTV for decades. So I'm reaching out to some of the people that I've been working with over the decades from MTV networks and asking them to come on. And, I have some friends. Let's just say I have some friends. And they have a lot of good stories and a lot of good info. And MTV was a really special thing for my life. It was just for my life. A special thing for my life. Yes. I am not speaking. I'm speaking in the Ashes, the pretzels. Wait till you try the 420 bar. It's got pretzels. It's got potato chips. It's got toffee. It's got mini M&Ms. It's got hazelnuts. I think there's too much shit in it. I asked Jeff, is it too much? He said, could be too much. Oh, that's nice of Jesse. Those guys, it's really interesting. The show has been really interesting. And just because of stuff like today, where it's 7:10, I didn't really have anything planned. I was going to reach out to Brad, and, I was going to have Jared Poland on, originally my friend, photographer, and we're going to meet with Jared too. But then the Stanley Brothers hit me up. I've been trying to get them on for months, and he's like, can you want to do Thursday or Friday? I'm like, Friday's perfect because then I can make the show have a little theme to the show, and, everybody – we'll talk about weed, my favorite thing. I can wear my weed shirt. It'll be a weed show. I get high with you guys on my dab rig. You're like, come on, this shit is so cool. 4 different temperatures, right? 4 different temperatures. You drop a little bit in there cold, You have a little thing here. You drop it in there. You hit the button. You just sit down and wait. No torches. No overcooking it. No cooking it where you get too high and blow your mind. You know, if you don't have a Puffco, I want to thank Roger from Puffco and Jim Walsh and Elise McRoberts too. Very instrumental in putting one of these into my hand. And Brad Melshenker for providing the delicious oil. He's on my list of people to go visit all the time because he's just the best product. So, yes, watch the Stanley Brothers, Linda. It was really good today. It was only the one brother, Jesse, but, you know, I think they all would, if you talk to them all, they probably they have the same stories because they're always together. But they grew up in a town of 150 people and 5 boys in one bed growing up. That's kind of crazy. Sleeping like sardines. Can you imagine? I mean, my brother was across the room from me in the bed and he drove me crazy. So I can't imagine being in the same bed with everybody, but it builds character. Stuff that builds character. Keep building characters out there, people. Hydrate, medicate. What was the other one? Hydrate, medicate, educate. I think the craziest thing, I wanted to get into with Rob a little bit yesterday, was just watching the thing about Deshaun Jackson and then watching the other guy, Steve Jackson, come in and try to back him up, and then thinking that now these guys have to go back and educate themselves about the Jews the way we've all been educating ourselves about the blacks. You know, now it's like we realize that everybody might have a little bit of racism in there because we all don't know everybody's story. So because nobody takes the time to figure out what people have been through and what people have been subjected to because we're so busy living our lives. You know, we're just moving along. So let's move along. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace, love, happiness, everybody out there. The hug. Oh, have a great weekend. Go to the beach. It's summertime. Get out there. Breathe in the fresh air. But make sure you wear a mask. Stay away from me if you don't have a mask on. I don't want to catch what you got.